I highly recommend you watch this if you're thinking about changing teaching careers, going from one school district into another, or especially if you're talking about moving from one state to another. This summer, I did a pretty in-depth analysis of comparing my salary to my teaching salary to several other counties and several other states. Just for the fun of it, I want to see where I stacked up in reality for these positions. Now, having said this, I'm not an accountant. I would recommend that if you are to make a change, that these are just some guidelines for you, that you should really sit down with an accountant or in some sort of a professional. But let's talk about kind of what I found. So, I compared my current teaching salary to that of one of the states up north. I compared it to two southeastern states, and this is what I found. I've been teaching for 28 years, so I assumed they would give me credit for all of my steps, but there's no guarantee of that. If you're switching districts or switching states, make sure they're going to give you credit for however many years of experience you have. So this first piece, I'm assuming they're giving me credit for 28 years and 28 steps, which for most organizations, that's going to max out their pay scale. There were a couple that it didn't, but um, I'm working 196 days. I make $63,435. My school district pays $4,853 on my behalf to Social Security and Medicare. Now, having said that, what was really interesting to me is a couple of the states I was looking at and school districts I was looking at do not pay Social Security and Medicare on behalf of their teachers. So if you want to participate in those, you have to pay it yourself, which I think there's going to be some teachers at the end of their career who are stunned when they find out they're not getting Social Security or Medicare. That's a kind of a big one. Now again, that's assuming it's still there. I mean, there's no guarantee they're going to be there when we retire. The next is my school district is paying $7,555 a year right now into my retirement. Now I switched over from the pension plan into the investment plan. So this is what they're investing on my behalf. My school system also pays my insurance. I pay $5 a month and they cover the other $9,400 is what they've credited as. And I think that's kind of for 58-year-old male. I think we're probably talking about a ballpark of 9 or 10,000, maybe more. I'm in good health, so maybe that knocks it down a little bit. But a lot of school districts make you pay your retirement. That 7,500 bucks would go out of your paycheck into their retirement. And same thing with insurance. A lot of school districts make you pay their insurance. So when you look at that $63,435, you can actually add in the Social Security, add in the retirement, add in the insurance, and that pulls me up. Now, having said that, if somebody advertises a position at 85,243 and they deduct those amounts, getting you down to 63,435, that's a push. Now, the school up north I was looking at pays six figures, so it would be significantly more. Even if I have to pay those costs myself, it's still probably a net positive. One of the schools or one of the school districts I was looking at in the southeast was talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of $78,000, and they subtracted the 4853, the 755, and the 9400. Although the 9400 would be significantly less because they had a better deal negotiated with their insurance. So when you are comparing school districts and you're looking at numbers, if your numbers are part of your decision, make sure that you are reading it right. So again, my school district advertises my salary at 63,435, but in reality, I'm getting about 85,243 versus other school districts are advertising at different numbers, let's say 75,000 for argument's sake, and they're taking out deductions for those, lowering it below the 63,435. So when you're comparing school districts, keep that in mind. Another thing is here in Florida, we have no state taxes. I don't pay state taxes, zero state taxes. So when I start looking at that six-figure job up north, I know that that particular state has pretty intense taxing. So I would have to deduct for that, and I would have to take a look at their taxing scale and figure out how much what that number really turns out to be. Um, the other thing you need to take a look at is local sales taxes. You need to pay for teacher salaries and first responders in some fashion. And the Southeast school district I was looking at, one of the two Southeast school districts I was looking at, has a very, very high local sales tax. So I've got to take that into account. Other things you should take into account: cost of living, housing here in Florida. It's brutal here in Florida. I could buy twice as much house in the southeastern uh, counties I was looking at. Property insurance, same thing. Here in Florida, most places don't even want to insure us, so our property taxes are absurd. Car insurance, we have I-4, which impacts car insurance. Electricity, we're running our air conditioning all summer long, but that's kind of a push because in some of the northern places, you're going to be running your electricity in the winter to heat your house because of the temperature outside, and potentially in the summer for air conditioning. Food, again, I know that some of the places I visited, it's a little bit cheaper. And then gas tax. Here in Florida, we pay 25 cents a gallon gas tax. So I would have a significant saving as far as that goes. Some of the intangibles to take a look at. Um, I would probably not get credit if I switched school districts for all of the sick days I've accumulated. And intangibles, where I am currently, love my classroom, love my colleagues, and I've been ingrained in this community for over 3 decades. So those are all the intangibles you need to take into account if you're looking at other school districts as well. So the moral of the story is this: is when you look at teacher salaries in other states and even other school districts, you need to make adjustments to figure out what that number really is versus what the number they're telling you. If they're giving you a big number and then they're taking out for Social Security, Medicare, retirement, insurance, um, all of those things, that number may actually significantly decrease the number in actuality compared to where you are. Hope this helps. You guys have a great school year. Keep being heroes, and I'm staying put.